award-winning author. And my lovely notes here. She is an award-winning author of Discover the Secret Energized You. She is a stress, and there's her lovely book. She is a stress management coach and trainer and energy therapist who teaches people how to trade in their stress for enthusiasm and vitality. She sees stress as a sure route to illness now or later, and stress management through personal balance as the primary key to wellness and happy, productive living. Kebba gives people tools for feeling energized, wonderful, instead of tired, tight, or in direct physical pain. Welcome, Miss Lovely Kebba. We are so excited to have you today. How are you doing?
That's fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my goodness, yes. And just like every one of our panels, I love stories. If you have missed that, for anyone, again, if you're seeing this, my name is Profwani with Lady Jewel, and honestly, we see events as live action storytelling. So I love stories. I love learning people's stories. And Kebba, you have another panelist who has quite a unique story, because similar to Phil, who was going to become a doctor, you were an engineer, and now you are in energy. How did that happen?
Well, yeah, I was an engineering manager, and I was a well-known flood control hydrologist. And then
Those are a lot of words.
Yeah, just forget all that. But when I was 26, one day, certain of my joints started to burn very painfully. And I thought, Mom said that she had arthritic changes in her joints from the time she was 27, and she never did anything about it besides exercise, eat right, and take some anti-inflammatories. It really wasn't a big deal. I thought, okay, well, I look like Mom, I sound like Mom, have just, how DNA goes in stacks, and I got her stack of DNA, and I thought, no big deal, so I'll have slightly achy joints the rest of my life. No problem. No, within a year, I was burning horribly from head to toe. And I mean every molecule, every cell, burning painfully. And so that became my major interest. Is how can we solve pain issues? Because at first, of course, you think, oh, let me reach for a bottle of, and then you have an Aleve or a Tylenol or whatever. You play around with aspirin, was very popular at that time. None of that stuff worked. I had been very active in ballet and dance and yoga, and being active did help, but there were some other things. I became primarily a researcher of natural healing because I really needed to solve my issue. At 26, I could see being in a wheelchair by the time I was 40. I could see having no marriage, no kids, anything that people think that they're going to have that's nice in life. So there was a terrible stiffness with it. So in one job I worked for the state, and in the cafeteria I had to hit my lunch tray with my right hip and bounce it onto my forearms, because my hands weren't working and they were really painful. So I would then carry my lunch over to a table, and I would hit the tray with my left hip and slide the tray onto the table. That's how bad it was. And as you can see, well, you've met me in person. You know, I'm very flexible, and I have a lot of abundant health. So 8 years I spent interviewing people who had pain and stiffness, and what did they find helped them, and what did they find did not help them. And at the end of 8 years, I was at a party, and somebody was telling a boring story. A story of she was living for her arthritis, and my eyes were just leering over, because she bought special camping equipment for it, and she bought a special vehicle for it, and she got a special bed for it, and she had basically married her arthritis, and I wasn't interested in doing that. And here was the change point, because this is at the 8th year from the time it attacked me. I heard myself saying to Nancy Bayfield, well, when I had horrible crippling pain, I don't know what I said to her, because I suddenly became a monitor camera up in the corner of the room, and I was seeing myself done with it. I had figured it out.
I loved that. I loved how you made that declaration. When I was
looking down on me and Nancy Bayfield and her cute little Pomeranian dog, and I realized sometime that with everything I was learning and doing, not through the American Medical Association, none of that medicine helped me at all, which is why I was working so hard on it. I realized that sometime in the previous 6 months it had gone away. It had slipped away. Not like, okay, goodbye, Kebba, but it had just gradually dissolved. So anyway, the punctuation point in my life is there. I was still working like heck as a flood control hydrologist. And if you ever want to see my list of publications, it's quite long. Which sounds very...
As I say, story for another day.
Yeah, or not. And that's when I realized I was more interested in natural pain solutions than in engineering. So I gave 2 weeks notice and walked out. And boy, were they surprised. So,
you
I've
did
had a
that.
holistic healing practice since '91.
Yeah, so you did all of that, and obviously have been very successful in that. What were some of the tips and tools that you used to transition from engineering to holistic? Obviously, you're learning, because you said you spent 8 years interviewing, so you took your love of learning and really being able to digest information and knowledge and turn it into practical pieces. But what else did you do?
Well, and bear in mind that at that time we had no internet. We had no National Library of Medicine in LM. We had only traveling experts. We didn't have, there were no schools in the United States where you could go and study Chinese medicine, from which a lot of my current day work is sourced. So of course I went to work for somebody else, I worked in a women's beauty retreat, dissolving pain, and I think the other ladies were quite jealous because they did things like pedicures, facials, and what I was doing was quite profound, and so I was out of step with what they were doing. And I worked for a world famous spa, and they allowed me to do energy therapy. It was on the menu at this world famous spa. And then the Marriott brothers aged out, and somebody else bought that very famous facility, and they don't do energy therapy anymore. They only do your standard thing. So that was a shame. But at that point, I had enough momentum going that I just opened my own office and said, whoever's interested, come see me.
Great. So how did you make that connection with that very well-known spot? Like, who was part of your community that opened that door for you?
I don't remember. It's been quite a while. I think
that's
been 20
fair.
years. But it was...
Well, and you know what? It's not even so much the detail, but I'm assuming it was probably that you did have a connection that was able to get you there, which gave you that lovely exposure.
I did have someone in my circle. I've always made sure that I circulate a lot, that I know a lot of people, and I understand what the community is doing and what humans are interested in from year to year, season to season, because that changes. It's very important to your business. And so there was somebody in my circle that said, why don't you apply at this place? And I did, and I was taken on right away. So yay. But anyway, then the main time in my holistic healing years has been having my own business, and there was never any business conflict. Any place where I work, never a conflict with having my own practice. And people who had their pain problems solved by me, no longer had headaches, or no longer had that lower back pain, or no longer had that neuropathy, no longer had those stroke symptoms. They would send their friends. Or breathing issues, no problem. And
yeah,
the biggest thing that I learned about pain that embodies is it's usually some emotion that we have. It's some thoughts or some emotions that we have, and those become located in the body in very specific spots according to Chinese medicine. And so if somebody says to me, oh, well, I have headaches, I ask, well, do you have one here or here or here, or is it sweeping like this and you're not really sure where it is? Because each of those has a different origin, and I can tell them what emotion is bugging them this week by where they say their headache is.
So again, a lot of knowledge, which is
try putting that in an advertisement.
Right, exactly. But you said that you took time to get to you build your network, right? You took time to get to know a lot of different people in a lot of different spaces, and then as you continue to work with different clients, building those relationships, continuing to build that network, they would send their friends and their families, because you were very knowledgeable again on what you were doing and what you were practicing and getting those results. But it was still back to the heart. So we're still back to that emotion, understanding their emotional state, which really then gave you the education, the knowledge you needed to be a true help and source for them.
Yes, and I even had a few dog clients. For me, it's very easy to find the areas on a dog's body that hurt, and to do moves that dissolve those discomforts. So if there isn't a break, then I can fix it. In fact, there was one couple that I used to go visit on Wednesday nights, and they had a dog, a large dog, and one night they said, oh, he doesn't need a treatment. I would usually give him a 10-minute treatment on my way out. The look on his face as I was turning to go. And the three of us looked at him, and his people said, I guess you better treat him. So we're all going to be in the quote, dog house. He says, pets are very easy to heal. They don't have a solar plexus. Okay, so what else would you like to know, Ms. Pearl?
Well, we're coming to the end of our time together. Learned so much. Thank you so much again for being here. Love that. And for those that are listening again on demand, you're hearing a continual theme: getting to know people, building your network, connecting with the heart, being a knowledgeable expert of your field, and taking that time to really understand what it is that you're doing and the services that you're providing. So what is one, well, besides all of the amazing experts that you had, I know this may be a hard thing, but another person that was instrumental to your success as a business owner?
I don't have one. I collected business wisdom wherever I could.
Well, that's not surprising.
Sorry,
you are a connoisseur of learning. So
I've seen a lot of people charging a lot of money to make recommendations that have no application whatsoever to most people's businesses. So I think when I had a question about how to handle a certain thing, I asked around, and different people in my circle would answer that for me. Got a lot of great answers, and people love being asked for their opinion.
Well, actually, I love that tip. So ask around. You have a great community that you're surrounded with, so ask for help. Take them out to lunch, take them out to brunch, and pick their brain. I had a young entrepreneur who's doing some event technology, and he did, and we spent some time chatting. before we say goodbye for now, what's one thing you would love to leave the audience with, Ms. Kebba?
I don't make the same recommendations that other people do. I'd like to recommend that everybody just start fresh every day, fresh and open to the guidance that you may receive. Keep going, keep smiling, and keep checking that you're on track. How do you know if you're on track? Because behind the start of your day is your vision. If you hold a vision, I'm not a person who talks about goals, a person who talks about your vision. What do you want your practice to be like? What kind of people do you want to be surrounded with? When I was in college, I knew that I wanted to be surrounded for all of your professional life. You want to be surrounded by people who are doing this and never looking up. I wanted to be surrounded by people who loved to go camping, and people who loved to go hiking, and people who appreciated Mother Earth, and people who are kind of ecological in their thinking, which was, that was early days back then. The first Earth Day was 1972. So not everybody had the Earth awareness that we do now. So I would say stay on your track. If you have an idea, a vision of what your business is going to be, pick your trade dress. That is, what does your business look like to other people? What do you look like to other people? And don't keep freaking changing your hair every week. Just, not spikes one week and the long hair the next week. And, you don't have to be Gwyneth Paltrow to make money. But I have people coming to me who have known me for 30 years, and for 15 years they've been thinking about it. And now they come in, they trust me. I am very consistent and I care. And they know that, and they've been thinking about it for a long time, because that's how humans often are. So if you have this vision and this consistency in how you put yourself forth, you may be amazed at how the universe sends people to you with ease and perfect grace.
Well, I do love that, the consistency and having your vision. I will have to agree to disagree about the hair change. As I love to change my hair.
But complete change of looks doesn't give you a trade dress. You're an individual consultant.
But less on the joking side, truly having that vision. I loved how you started out your last comment there with wake up every day fresh. It is a new day. You have your vision. You have where you are going in your direction in life. So start that fresh with that in the forefront of your mind and work on it consistently throughout the day, and you'll be amazed at where next you'll go. So thank you so much for that, Kebba. And we will chat with you shortly. So we will see you soon. And we are bringing up our last panelist for the day. And we're just grateful to have everyone here, Kebba. We definitely have to chat again. So chat with you shortly.
Good. Look forward to it.
And as we are bringing